There she goes. Dun, 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 again.
This is what the kids pay for.
No, they pay for. Hold on.
Oh, it's too late. I already transitioned.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Because they haven't started recording yet, so we can still do this.
Yes.
Ready?
Oh.
That's important. Hey. This room's really big and really quiet and empty.
In case you were wondering.
Makes it sadder. When he did it in your apartment, it was small.
This is a big, quiet room that Sam's in.
Welcome.
So in case you guys were wondering, this is our normal episode. This is actually a slightly different setup than our other stream.
That we did yesterday.
Yeah, a few less people involved.
Yeah, a little bit. This
is
just
more intimate.
Us.
You know what I mean? It's like when you go to the club, the JS club, but it's the one guy with the trombone.
You mean it's when you go to your friend's stand-up, but you're the only people in the audience?
Yes, that.
But this is cooler than that, definitely. This is definitely cooler. Shout out to Danny M. and Stephen Walker. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Let us know, actually, in the YouTube chat how the Discord's going, how you're enjoying it, because I've seen Stephen in there, and it's been a blast.
Yeah. And also let us know how the stream is going. We're trying some new stuff, and we're testing it out.
No, not HQ. You
Dang
fool.
it, not HQ.
But yeah, you guys have suggested some stories, and today we're going to be talking about action movies and what makes them, what they mean to us, what our favorite ones are, what are some favorite scenes, and why we think they work. We're not, again, we'll go over this in the episode that we haven't made one of these films. There's a lot going into it.
Not for lack of trying.
Hey, we sure tried.
So little how the sausage is made real quick. So 6 to 12 minutes, and we can see right here, but I can also leave that. 6 to 12 minutes in first ad, 21 to 30 minutes in second ad, and then 39 to 45 minutes in final ad.
Cool.
And figured no, since all our ads are taken up, no iTunes reviews or any of that jazz.
Yeah, we're just going right into it. Maybe a quick little what we're into at the top, but like we.
Oh yeah, I got something. I'm excited for what we're into. I got something I'm excited to talk about.
I think I am too, but we'll keep it short because I'm excited to like talk about the topic and really get into it's really broad, and I'm excited to see how people respond to it. Shout out to the stupid stub, and Danny M, Danny Boy. Hello, ear babies. Appreciate you guys. I hope you're enjoying the Discord, and let us know what you thought of the new show, because yesterday it went better than we could possibly imagine, because we got unless it would have been cool if 1 million people watched live, but it went better than I anticipated.
I imagined Denzel Washington was going to show up, and that didn't happen.
I think that I'm going to say I bungled that because I didn't really hunt him down when I was at the Equalizer screening. I did. I
was counting on that.
I'm so sorry.
Sweet Equalizer connection.
I had a sweaty flyer in my hand. I was like, come to the studio, please. Come. And we'll set our address out loud.
You just walk up to the draw. Please come. Please come.
Please. All right. I'm excited. Let us know what you thought of the show. I'm going to be looking over here and talking with you guys. Julie is also joining us. Julie, thank you so much for joining us yesterday for the live show, because I know it's very late for you in Scotland, but we appreciate you and everyone's support. And guys, keep tuning in because you could win a thing. Not at this one. The other one. Thursday show. Yeah.
We can only afford to give away one thing a week.
Yes, but hey, it's pretty cool. That was a cool thing to be able to talk to the guy about that. But yeah, I'm ready to go. Are you ready to do it? Yes.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, hey there! I didn't go low this time.
You didn't. You went in hot.
Yes, I came in hot. 2 hot boys on the podcast today.
Sam, what is this? You're Sam Basher, aren't you?
Oh well. I'm feeling it today, yes.
Okay, all right. It depends on who's asking.
It depends on who's asking. And if someone asked your name, you'd say...
DJ Wooldridge is what I would say.
That's cool.
And what is this that we're doing?
It's a new type of radio. It's called a podcast.
What?
And then we do this weekly. It comes out Mondays, 5 a.m., and we talk about movies.
Yes.
TV shows.
That's correct.
Comic books.
A lot of the time.
Pop culture stuff in general.
Yes.
Not the stuff you'll see in People magazine. The cool stuff like comic books. All right?
All right.
All right. It's the backbone of the community. All right? Let's make your favorite movies, you nerds.
And you might be wondering, throughout the episode, we'll be talking to people, we'll be looking at comments on Discord and live, and you're like, how can I be a part of the people that watch this show live?
Well, it's really, it's a cool little feature. If you mosey on over to patreon.com/onlystupidanswers for as low as $1 a month, you can send us your questions because we want to start utilizing the Patreon community more, mainly because we figured out how to integrate Discord into it. Discord is...
and by we, Sam means he did.
I had to sit down with someone who is very good at using Discord for about 3 hours, and they had to explain it to me like you explaining how to reset your router to your grandparents. It was humbling for me, but I was able to figure out a lot of cool stuff. And the community that has already sprouted up in Discord from the Play Noggin Twitch stream and from you guys on Patreon, it's just great. And also, just so you know, $5 and above, $1 gets you asking questions.
Yeah.
That's important. $5 and above, that's how you start suggesting stuff for us to talk about in episodes. And we have a giveaway on the Only Stupid Answers show. And you're thinking to yourself, wait a second, I thought this was the Only Stupid Answers show. This is the podcast. We have a brand new Only Stupid Answers Twitch show at twitch.tv/playnog. And there's a link in the description down below. But on Thursdays at 4 p.m. PST, DJ... Roxy Stryer, our good friend and a co-host of Super TV Showdown, and myself, Sam, we all sit down, we talk about current nerdy news, we talk about lifestyle stuff, and we game, which is so... We had our first episode this week, and I need to gush about it because it went perfect. Like, there's like... Knock on wood for future episodes. We have a wood table now, which is really cool. New set. If you're listening to this, you don't care. But
if you're listening to this, new set. So take a look.
Take a peek around. But no, it went off without a hitch. Like technical on the technical side of everything. It was perfect.
Yep.
And it just made me so happy how it rolled out. How did you feel about it?
I felt really good. It was the fans really showed up. It was fun interacting with them on the Discord. We'd been preparing for it for a very long time, and so it was cool to finally get it.
Let's lowball it and say 3 months.
Yeah. We've been working toward this for a minute now, and it's cool to finally have it off the ground.
No, we built a set. We figured out to run a show, and I think we have a really good format, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And you can get involved with the Discord and in the Twitch community. So check that out. Thursdays, 4 p.m. PST. We're going to do another episode. It's now new weekly show, so make sure you tune in. But also, OnlyStupidAnswers.com. That's got our merch. That's got all the places you can listen. Like iTunes, love those 5-star reviews. You got Spotify. You got Google Play Music. If anyone has an issue with Google Play Music or Spotify, let us know. We got you covered. We'll figure that out.
We'll do our best.
And also, all of our social. We got Twitter, @OnlyStupidAnswers.
You got the vowels from stupid.
Instagram, Facebook, Reddit. And we're on Discord.
Boom.
Can't get there unless you're part of the Patreon.
So something we like to start off each episode with is jumping into what we're into this week. Because, we might have discovered something new and fun that we're excited to share with you. Ian's walking around. He's trying to find something.
No, you're good. You can mosey around. What?
Yeah, that's fine.
No, we... this week, we did have we have a new segment on our show called What We're Into. It was a fun way of evolving what we already do on this podcast. But that's not just we're not just throwing, vomiting up every new thing that we've discovered. We really focus in and do in-depth reviews or convention coverage, or there's a lot of stuff you're missing out if you're not watching live at 4 p.m. PST, twitch.tv/.
But here, what have you been up to this week that you're into?
This.
Mainly this. All right.
But I do read a comic or two every once in a while.
Have you read Saga yet?
Nope. That's a no-go. But I did read...
I need somebody to talk to about it.
A different comic. How did you feel about it? Hey, you know what? Do you want to talk about that for what you're into? Do you have
I got a good one. But
I
will say real quick, Saga's in a tremendous comic. It's really well done, but I kind of hate the most recent issue. I kind of hate what happens.
Ooh.
But don't worry, I got a full year to process it before another issue.
Back.
No, it's incredibly well written, and it's good. It's just emotionally challenging stuff that happens in the most recent issue. And when you find out, I knew going in it was going to be that, because it's hey, we're going to take a year break. It's okay, well, something happens. You know what I mean? So anyway, but that's not what I'm into. What I'm into this week is I rewatched Spider-Man 3.
Oh, you did.
I did.
We talked about it when we saw Mission Impossible.
Well,
which, by the way, this episode's going to be about action movies. So tell us about the action in Spider-Man.
So I am a huge fan of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies, specifically 1 and 2. I have not seen. I've rewatched those movies. I own them. I've rewatched them very regularly. 3 I've not seen again since I first saw it in theaters over 11 years ago.
It has been that long.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I remember it being very, very offensively bad, right? Which is why
a middle finger to you.
But it's 10 years have happened since then, and not only have there been other Spider-Man movies, there have been significantly more superhero movies. At
least 10.
Yeah, so it was interesting going back and rewatching it and realizing that it's actually a pretty solid. It is easily the weakest of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies.
Which that really hurt it. That hurt.
Yeah,
it
that hurt it. And also, but that's also a really high bar. Those first two movies are basically the template for every superhero movie that's come since, essentially. So rewatching it, it's actually really solid. It has some really beautiful moments in it. I would argue that it's a very good movie right up until they really invest in the black suit stuff. Specifically, there's two scenes back to back that are some of the worst scenes in any superhero movie, and that's the thing that everybody, for the most part, that's the thing everybody remembers, except for me. I remember one of those scenes, which is when Peter's the montage where he's on the street and his hair's slicked and he's getting new clothes and he's like dancing in the street and everything
with like the landlord's wife daughter. I don't remember. Yeah,
that's the scene I remember not liking. I'd completely blocked from my memory the scene where he goes into the bar to basically taunt Mary Jane with Gwen Stacy, and then there's a whole dance number in that
on the chair,
and that is how we judge this movie. And I don't think that's fair. In hindsight, going back and revisiting the movie, I don't think it's fair that it's judged. Those two scenes very bad. I don't think it's fair that the whole movie gets judged because of those two scenes.
Here's a rebuttal.
Okay,
if it's memeable, we're allowed to make fun of it.
I'm not saying don't make fun of those scenes.
I think they deserve
it. I'm saying if you revisit the movie as a whole, I think the creativity behind the action sequences, specifically with Sandman, like the visual stuff that they do with Sandman, is really amazing. Also, the sequence where once he's been in the collider, whatever that thing is he stumbles into,
when he turns into Sandman,
once he's made into Sandman and he first emerges and he's trying to reconstruct himself, it almost functions as his own short film, and it's beautiful and it's poetic. There's also a little scene where Aunt May is describing how Uncle Ben gave her wedding ring, which is something that superhero movies just don't invest in anymore. Is these beautiful little character moments. Like, I would love to see Marissa Tomei get a moment like that in one of these Spider-Man Homecoming movies, because it's very revealing of her character and also informs Peter and where he's at, and is also a really elegant reminder of the backbone of this entire franchise, which is the death of Uncle Ben, and also backbone to that movie because they introduced that Sandman is actually the killer, which plays a lot better in hindsight than it did when I first saw it.
Yeah, because it kind of felt like a weird.
It's like, what the
retcon.
hell? Yeah.
You did mention those heartfelt moments, and you're forgetting when Drax was invisible in the newest Infinity War movie, and when would we be able to take the time to do that in the Spider-Man movie?
Good point.
Go ahead and suck on
that. Sure. But I also say that he's talking about action. We're talking about action stuff today. The action scene where Peter fights Harry early on in the movie when he's the new Goblin, which, by the way,
with the flying snowboard.
Yeah, they were very much trying to be like, hey, don't worry, we're not going to do any of that lame Green Goblin stuff. Here's all the new cool stuff, and that hasn't aged very well. But that sequence, the fights with Sandman, even to a degree, the last fight, although that's kind of when the wheels have gone off. They shouldn't have done the Venom stuff. I love Venom. He's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. Arguably, he's actually my favorite Spider-Man villain. They shouldn't. It derails the whole movie, even though thematically it connects with the idea that I think is interesting to explore, where Peter's kind of feeling himself too much, and he needs to be brought down a peg. It's almost like an explanation of like why Peter needs to have Parker luck, like, or else he's going to be a jerk. Like, he needs to be humbled continuously.
Yeah.
Even though the Venom stuff kind of like pairs well with that, it throws the entire movie off.
Because also so much stuff is happening from every different angle, at the very least, with like all the multiple people they try to add to Amazing Spider-Man 2. I really don't like that movie. I tried to rewatch it once and I was like, nah, I'm going to go ahead and stop. But at least everything kind of connected back to one thing, like that was a little, that you could understand. In that movie, you have origins for like 3 different characters from 3 different things.
Well, and it's tough too with Spider-Man 3.
All connect to Peter very specifically and personally.
Yeah, and it's weird that because of Venom, they have to go through the trouble of introducing Eddie Brock, even though there's at least 2 characters that could have filled that role that we'd already established. One is Harry, because the reason Harry hates Peter makes sense, and also they give him more reasons to hate Peter throughout that movie. Also, considering the symbiote comes from symbiote comes from space, whatever. Anyway, Jameson,
Jonah Jameson.
No, his son in Spider-Man 2 that's supposed to marry Mary Jane. The astronaut, he's supposed to marry Mary Jane, and then Peter wrecks the wedding, essentially. And it's like, he's already an astronaut that has a reason to hate both Peter and Spider-Man. He could be the reason it comes back. Like, it's there. It's all there. You know what I mean?
Okay, but like, you have a good pitch for it. wouldn't people be upset with that because you're not getting your Eddie Brock? I know people aren't happy with that Venom interpretation, but what could you imagine?
Especially then, because I think the only real Venom at that point, maybe Matt Gargan was Venom at that point, but traditionally it was Eddie. Yeah. Now enough people, we've had Flash, there's in the cartoon, Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, it was Harry. Enough people have been Venom that I think you could get away with it.
Yeah.
Then I think there would not have been as well received.
Yeah. Could you mind-boggling if people just didn't let directors do what they wanted to do in a movie because thematically it made sense. No. They had to give you your goddamn dumb character looking the way you want them to.
But rewatching it, I really did enjoy it, and I think it's worth revisiting and relooking. It's definitely not like a Batman and Robin situation.
No, I don't remember it like that. I just remember being super let down by it. Not upset. No, there's stuff that the dancing.
Again, those two scenes are really. I'm not defending those two scenes. They could easily just cut those from the movie.
Well, I wanted to mention I really wanted to try to watch Castle Rock before we recorded.
I watched the first episode.
And.
It's fine.
Okay, it's there. Yeah. All right, so then I'm not going to talk about that. But I will say, if you guys want a fun horror story to pick up, Justice League Dark, written by James Tynion.
I'm excited to check it out.
Came out. Is it going to change your world? No, but the art's beautiful, and I like the setup for what they're doing right now. You got all the spooky characters, and Man-Bat being there.
Yeah.
It's a very cool take on the character.
Cool.
Basically, it's what's the best way to describe it? It's what's a character that has to control like a transformation all the time? In the Mummy movie, Hulk, kind of like Amadeus, like that. It's kind of like that he can't fully change back into a person. He's kind of like, basically he looks like a scientist with a bow tie on, but his head looks like a bat.
Cool.
And he is the scientist in it. He's the one who's trying to understand, like, he's looking at dead bodies.
That's a great use of that character.
It is. It's very cool. And you have Detective Chimp. Not going to dive into who that is. And they finished up Flash War with Wally West and kind of explaining it. And the best part of that comic specifically was Wallace, who they're calling the younger one, which I feel like you should have swapped it and called the older one Wallace because it sounds like an older name. But whatever.
Or just merge your character.
No, but this is what they bring up, actually. They're like, Wally, the younger Wally, went to the future when this whole event started, and he was stuck there walking through the Flash Museum from before Flashpoint. It hadn't changed. It still looks the way it did before Flashpoint.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not here.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to exist. I know, like, he knows the truth of it now.
Yeah.
So he's really fucking pissed at Barry. He's like, no, I'm a mistake. Then, like, that's how he feels. And Barry's like, no, you're not. And, like, so he runs off, and he's going to be in the Teen Titans book right now. And I like the setup where he's angry. Like, and he has literally every right to be. Because he's like, how could you even possibly deal with that? And I like that. But also been watching Nathan For You. If you guys want a good comedy, the premise is this Canadian businessman who
air quotes.
Sorry, he has a business degree from a college and he got really good grades there. That's like the opening of the show starts out. He helps out LA-based businesses or California-based businesses that are struggling with just awful ideas, awful ideas. One of my favorites was a restaurant wanted to get more recognition. They had gotten nothing, and they're like, well, restaurants, Nathan's idea is that restaurants get recognition when celebrities come and leave a really big tip.
Yeah.
So we're going to fake a celebrity sighting coming to this restaurant and leaving like a $10,000 tip. And they're like, okay. So what they have to do is they find a perfect impersonator.
Yeah.
They get Michael Richards.
Nice.
And if you're unfamiliar with that actor's name, I didn't know who that was. That's Kramer. And you're like, and they mainly pick him because the owner of the restaurant is like, oh, yeah, he does a good job. And you're like, you want to go with Michael Richards. If you guys are unfamiliar, go ahead and just Google him. He's not had the best track record. They have to do that. They have to find they have to open a credit card under Michael Richards and find a person with that name, and then they have to fake all of that to get some recognition for this. It's so funny of how the lengths they will go to make this stupid thing happen. They get a smoke detector registered as a musical instrument by creating a whole band and getting in a feud with Shell, the gas company. Like, it's great. I can't even describe it fully, like how crazy it gets, but highly recommend you should check it out. It's a good show. But I think we're pretty good there. But first, I want to say hi to one of our friends of the show, and we'll be right back to talk about the main topic. Am I cutting out?
Not on my end.
Okay, it sounds like I am on my end, so I couldn't tell what that was. But I do want to read Danny Boy. He said that he loved the show yesterday. Thank you to Kate and everyone who's joining us live. We really appreciate you. Kevin, Danny M, Danny Boy, Julie Layden. Yeah, like there. Oh, you just pulled on it. That's why.
Yeah, on my end you sound fine.
Yeah, it's that connector. All better?
Let's see if that works. That's good to know.
Yeah, that's being a little
Cool. Well, at least it's not the recording.
Yeah. Yeah, no, let us know how you're doing today. And also, since all you guys are watching live, you can, I have the YouTube chat over here. You have the Discord, so hop in there and hop in the story or the Patreon chat, and I'll read your guys' comments live. But let's move into the meat of the story. Thank you guys for tuning in, because we saw Mission Impossible earlier this week. And we put out, if you're on Patreon, you got an early access, longer review from us. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Don't worry, it's spoiler-free if you haven't seen the movie yet. But also, youtube.com/onlystupidanswers. You can get a spoiler-free review, a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Go check it out. Love when you give it a like and you comment. Just saying.
Just FYI.
Just FYI. But doing so much content like that, it just got us thinking, because this movie, the action scenes are, we've talked about this in the review, but the movie's basically built around an action scene, specifically the helicopter scene in the movie. Don't worry, you won't get spoilers for Mission Impossible Fallout. But
we may drop one at the very last thing of the episode.
There you go. But for the most part, you'll be good to listen. But it just got us think. It got me thinking. What makes a good action scene? Because we've talked about it, and I know you specifically love movies where. Well, I mean, who doesn't actually? I threw it to you, but who doesn't love a movie where you can see the care and effort they took to make the action feel believable? Like, you can feel the punches, like in Creed. There's a great example of, you get a Ryan Coogler, I think it's his second movie, his second big movie.
Station, then Creed.
Creed, and there's this amazing scene during the final fight where the camera's wrapping around both of the boxers in the ring, and you can feel it. It feels like meaty punches are like, you can feel the connection with them, and it really adds something to the movie when you can connect, when you can actually connect with the main character and feel their pain throughout the movie. And I wanted to get into...
We want to feel their pain.
Don't we? I mean, we kind of do. Like, why do we love rom-coms? Because we want to feel the love that those people feel. We watch scary movies because we want to be scared, but we want to be removed enough. And with action movies, we want to feel that kind of... That what we imagine a hero would go through without actually going through the physical trauma that they have to go through. Hey, get one of those punches to the head, and you'd probably be really bad at riding a bike. I'll be honest.
Just FYI.
Just FYI.
Just throwing that out there.
A punch to the temple. Like, we know that Michael B. Jordan took 2 punches in that movie. No, thank you. I don't want that at all.
What was the first, like, real, honest-to-goodness action movie you remember seeing? Not a superhero movie, sci-fi, whatever, like, action movie.
The action movie that doesn't have as much, like, hand-to-hand combat would be Speed. Speed was the movie we had on in our...
Speed is great.
It is. And
Speed is legitimately great. That bus jump is ridiculous.
It makes no... Physics-wise...
Like, it's not like one of the roads is higher than the other. They're just...
You should have just fallen right off.
Yeah, it just anyway. But it's a great movie.
It is, and we had it on all the time, and that I think that started my love for action films. And I think when I started to realize how an action scene, the direction of it, could really get you invested into the character and to the story, I think it's Creed. Actually, like, it's pretty late in my life, but I realized just how powerful well-directed action scene can affect an audience. What up for you? What was the first action movie?
I think the first action movie I really remember seeing would probably be Indiana Jones, probably Raiders. But I think I really enjoy that genre quite a bit, and I highly recommend. There's a series of articles on the AV Club called A History of Violence that goes through each year picking the biggest action movie of that year, and it kind of gives you a good, like, trajectory of the genre throughout the years, because I think, like, a good action movie, when it's working at its best, it should almost kind of function like a musical, like, where the musical numbers spring out of like, emotions are so high, the stakes are so high, what's going on with the characters and the story is so high that it breaks out into song. Same for action movie, except it's people punching each other.
Hey, you can can still punch each other in those fights. Hey, we've seen that in like Shaun of the Dead, when you see them fighting to the tune of Queen's Rocket Man. Ooh, I'm feeling awful right now. You're gonna tear me up. Please tweet me the link to
actually, that. Probably the perfect bridge between musical and action movie is Baby Driver.
Because I put that in the Discord chat.
That's essentially a musical.
The tequila gunfight, when they're trying to do the gun deal, and it goes south really, really fast, because I think they're undercover cops. It's been a minute. I think I only saw that in theaters once, and I haven't revisited it. I do want to revisit
rewatching it. It's really good.
But I remember how well executed that action was. was. And Edgar Wright does a really good job when it comes to action. Somebody actually in the Discord chat mentioned World's End. That's not my favorite Edgar Wright movie, and it's
still real good though.
It is. It just wasn't...
Personally, I enjoyed that more than Scott Pilgrim. I know I'm the minority on that one, but
but they mentioned the bathroom fight scene when they first realized what's happening in the town.
Yeah.
And I do remember that being really memorable, and I remember the physical, like the physical props they used for the robotics, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Also, Steve Zaragoza did an interview with Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, and Nick Frost.
I was in that room
about that movie.
Yeah.
And they talked about how, because he asked him. Steve's really good at interviews.
He is.
Steve's crazy good at it. Anyway, he was asking about like the mix of or how you utilize special effects, and Edgar Wright said something really smart about the idea of like you kind of want to mix it up. You don't want to keep using the same thing because that's what keeps the audience. Makes it feel more real because you don't necessarily know, is that a CGI effect or is that a practical effect or whatever.
Keep them on their toes.
Yeah. And it's why his movies take forever to come out.
They do. They take
and
so
why
long.
He's probably not the ideal director to do a Marvel movie in hindsight.
Zoop. But hey, no one was really claiming Ant-Man, so they're like, oh, go for it. Take all the time in the world.
Pretty much the only reason that movie exists, probably.
Yes, and now there's a sequel, and now he has one of our favorite moments in Civil War, which is another movie that has really thoughtful and emotionally heavy action. I think emotions also tie into it because, like I've mentioned Creed, I'm going to come back to that a few times because it meant so much to me. Yeah. Also worth mentioning, Die Hard was a really important movie for me when I was growing up. Die Hard,
I think, is probably the platonic ideal of an action movie because it's not only is the action great, but it's fun, it's engaging, it says something about who this character is. I think it's also a good example of Indiana Jones is another great example of this, the original three. Of that, I think what really elevates an action movie is it can be maybe this is true in most cases, the reality of it. Mm-hmm. And what with Die Hard, what makes it feel real is John McClane, and this is not true of the later Die Hard movies. He gets the shit kicked out of him. Like he's basically just holding it together by the end.
No, the best example of us connecting with him and seeing that he's not a superhuman is when he's pulling the glass out of his feet, and you just see that like he's definitely nerfed now. He can't do, even though he was doing some pretty impressive feats, or like when he's trying to climb down the air conditioning shaft and he almost misses it, and you can just like. There's like a tactile response, or like you can feel that movie.
There's a scene in Mission Impossible Fallout where Tom Cruise is supposed to crawl up something, and he's struggling to get his foot up, and you in that moment, at least for me, I could put myself in that position, and then he falls, and you're like, I'd be dead. I'd be so dead. I'd be dead right then.
There's no way I would grip anything as on my way down. But like, I've done very poorly at indoor rock climbing.
I'm so bad at rock climbing. But the reason I hesitated on the reality of it is I started thinking about the Fast and Furious movies, which I really enjoy. And they, of course, are insane. But there's still that tactile, like in Fast 8, which is probably one of the most ridiculous of the modern Fast movies. There's a scene where the hacker, Charlize Theron's hacker, starts making zombie cars that are throwing themselves out of parking structures, and they really drove cars out of parking structures with explosions and stuff like that. And so even though the physics don't work the same in that movie as our movie, there's still a tactile realness, like in Fast 5 when they pull that giant safe and drag it down the streets.
Because the physics makes sense.
They did that.
Yeah.
Really, they did that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was not as they didn't do as much property damage as in the movie, but as much. But like, and so even in a movie like that is you've got The Rock's muscles, which are a special effect in and of themselves.
Practical, of course.
There's still that like tactileness, that reality that makes you feel like when that fight's going on, you feel like people are really getting hit, you know?
I think it kind of comes back to the emotional weight of the movie. If we are able to get invested in the movie, like I said, Creed, I'm going to bring that back around because we can understand what his relationship is to his father and what boxing means a lot more than it does any other fighter in the ring because of not only the legacy of the character, which I think is an interesting take on it, but also how he deals with his own problems, like his emotional frustrations. Like he did not have an easy time growing up. Yeah. He clearly didn't have like a strong father figure in any way. No. And the only way he can connect with that person is by doing the same thing he did, regardless of what it does to himself. And it's not a healthy way that he's able to deal with his emotions, but you get a moment near the end when he is fighting and you can really feel him pouring out his own heart, even though you didn't have to hear him say anything. You could just see that the way that the director chose to capture that scene. Yeah. You're able to understand what this means emotionally to Creed. I'm blanking on the main
Adonis.
character.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
that's his main. That's his.
Donnie,
That's his
yeah.
name. But I did want to mention we have a Patreon question. Thank you so much for sending those in from Kendra Davis. In live action, I like scenes that truly show a character's power on a scale that is understood to us. That's a great way of summing it up. And their example is the No Man's Land scene in Wonder Woman. It shows her actual strength, but animation is my first love due to the creativity. That being said, what is your favorite animated action scene? That's a great one we should come back around to.
It's definitely going to be either something from Korra or Voltron.
Yes, they said mine currently is the big fight between Shiro and Keith in the last season of Voltron.
That was really good.
We'll come back to that, but actually,
that was really good.
But bringing up Wonder Woman, they specifically, let's talk about the action there because they utilize slow motion, Snyder Vision, air quotes. I didn't come up with that. That's an internet thing.
It's just science. It's the scientific name for that.
He invented it. But the use of slow motion sometimes can be gimmicky, and a lot of people can get turned off from it. I didn't, though, in Wonder Woman, because the point of this was to show her power, but also her grace. And so you seeing her unleash it means a lot. And when they take the time to show you, like, her splintering a gun with, like, her back muscles, and it's clearly taking her no effort. It's no effort to her whatsoever.
Yeah.
But the way they're capturing it, and the way you can see how fluid she is with her action of, like, you see her running through the French town and she's blocking bullets and she's like knocking things down and she's gonna jump from building to building to get up and take out the rest of the German soldiers inside that building.
Yeah.
It's kind of beautiful.
Yes.
And specifically the No Man's Land scene, utilizing that action and her taking on the trenches by herself. It brought a tear to my eye because it not only embodied everything that I love about the superhero genre in a very short scene. There was emotional weight leading up to it, and you can see that she's going through a lot of her trying to process how the world does not work the way that she was told it does. But also seeing the way that she was trained, you get a sense of how she could change the world around her with what she knows and what she can do.
It's interesting too because I'd argue that a movie like Wonder Woman is not technically an action movie; it's a superhero film. And Creed, I would argue, is technically a sports film, not an action film. But even in those movies that include action sequences, that care and attention put into it adds a lot to your movie. Like you could treat those scenes as superfluous, but if you take the time to really imbue them with, like you were talking about with Creed a lot, the emotionality of it, while also still being dope. Like you could have the emotion, but if it still wasn't a dope action scene, man, you know what I mean? Like, but not only is there emotionality in Creed, but the way it's choreographed and put together is excellent. Same with No Man's Land in Wonder Woman.
Well, think about this for a second. You mentioned the emotional aspect, and it got me thinking. And you also mentioned the reality, and that was also got me thinking. When we can see that this is affecting our hero in some way, that also helps us connect. Like when you see, like again, Creed, seeing him take a hit that lays him out, like that he literally hit the mat, and he in real life had to like probably take a week off so that he could heal up. I think another great example of that is the Daredevil hallway fight scene in the first season, because we're seeing him, he's exhausted, but also there's emotional weight because he sees himself in this kid. He lost his father, and maybe Daredevil might be adjacently attached to why this kid might not have a father anymore. Not really, but you can see how he could see it that way. So he's willing to lay it all on the line to get that kid back.
It's also a really smartly choreographed scene that quotes the Old Boy. An Old Boy is definitely not an action movie. It's more of a thriller. But it does have one of the most iconic action scenes in any movie ever.
What is it?
The hallway fight. There's a single take hallway fight that's all shot from the side, almost like a side-scrolling beat 'em up. But it's really great. And I think that reality, that tangibility, that relatability, I think it plays into what makes cinema good when it's working, is empathy. Like even you think about a good horror movie. If you are supposed to feel scared with the characters, that is where, going right to the top shelf, Hereditary, at least for me, did a really good job of, like, I was in with that. I could see myself even though they're dealing with supernatural things, I could see myself in the position of this family, which made it a more harrowing experience and to a degree a more cathartic experience. And I think when it's not working is when it's a passive watching experience where you are watching things happening, but no part of you is connecting to what's going on.
And that's hard to do. That's really hard to do.
Yeah,
and
if it was easy, anybody could do it.
I know, but that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Like you might have the perfect idea at home. You're like, oh my God, if we just did it this way.
You can't find a way. And I think I can't remember a specific movie, but there's been plenty of times where you and I have seen a movie and we've talked about it. And if you, on paper, you wrote down the concept's dope. But you're just not invested in what's happening, so it doesn't.
Let's pick an example. Transformers movies. The last one infuriated us. Please check out that episode because it's one of my favorite of how upset we are.
But I don't even know if the action sequences on paper are good in that one.
But okay, well, if you whittled it down, you're having giant robots fight each other, and you actually get to see a man take on a robot one-on-one, and for some reason he can actually. Never mind, this is. I'm sorry. I tried so hard. You did try.
It was a valiant effort. Like, hold on. Before we continue with that, let's take a quick second and say hey to a buddy of ours.
This is the Black Tux. Cool. Oh, sorry. Don't need that yet. I want to say we have Danny Boy saying The Princess Bride for the awesome sword fight scenes. They are pretty good.
Everything about the movie is amazing except the music.
The music?
I don't like the music in the movie. Okay. I don't like the synth score. I'd love to see it with like an orchestral, you know what I mean?
You guys are mentioning The Raid. Don't worry, we'll get to The Raid. There's also a chance we won't get to everything, but I am going to be reading through the Discord and stuff that has been inspiring to us. Oh, you want to write that down?
Yeah.
Cool. Let me just one more second. Julie says my big sister and my dad made me watch a lot of horror movies with them when I was a kid, though. So I built up a tough skin after that. They've been talking about horror movies.
Nice.
Hey, we get it.
It took me a minute. It wasn't until college I started watching horror movies because my parents, that was a no-go in the Woldridge household.
Right? Satan's playground.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
So real quick, the other part of that question was animated action scene. It's hard to think, but it's definitely Think about like the finale of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Mm-hmm. There's like 4 or 5 action scenes in that are just incredible.
And they're yes. Oh wow.
Justice League Unlimited. I can think of a few.
I know the one. The best action scene in the Justice League shows for me is the Flash scene because it's the perfect way. It is the perfect thing that I always want to show people. It's like, hey, watch these episodes and see the importance of him and what he means to everyone else.
And that Flash is Wally West, by the way.
Oh, hey, we talked about this actually on a bonus episode, and I haven't said it here, but I could do an episode of why people should shh about Wally not being on the Flash TV show. I have a pretty good reason of why it won't make the show better. But anyways, the Wally's scene where he takes down Lex Brainiac, whatever's happening there. You see him giving it his all, and there's an emotional weight to that because here's a quick setup for you that we find out in an alternate universe where the Justice League kind of goes crazy and becomes evil. It's because they lose the Flash, and that's it's heavy, and it's Luthor's fault specifically, and basically all of our main players, including the villains, become aware of this other world, and they try their best not to get to that point. Yeah. And usually, like the story that we've heard forever and ever is that when you try to avoid a possible future, taking the steps to avoid it might lead to it. And that's kind of what we are leading. That's been implying for seasons. Yeah. And it comes down to this moment where it's not the same circumstances, but we might see Wally die, and he's able to put his entire life on the line for a different reason, and he almost sacrifices himself to save his friends and save the planet. And it's it's this awesome moment of power that I absolutely love. But I did want to mention, because we talked about sometimes scenes aren't going to work, and I think another great reason why we can connect with an action scene is because of the character and also the actor and what they can bring to the table. Yeah. Specifically, I want to mention the Kingsman scene because that was actually mentioned the most in our Discord. It was in our story section. You guys suggested the Kingsman church fight scene many times, and while there is a plethora of CG in that scene, I still think that scene means a lot because of how much we connected with Clive Owen. Not Clive Owen. No, wrong. Colin Firth. Yeah. Sorry, British, black hair, white dude. Mm-hmm. He's also in a lot of action movies as well. But Colin Firth's character in that movie, he's so charming, and you can, in knowing behind the scenes, you know how much he actually cared about that specific scene, how long he trained so that he could be able to pull off a lot of the stuff that happens in that. Yeah. And it's all one take, so it's like this spectacle that we're able to engage with, and while it is kind of disgusting at some points because it's so violent, there's no way you don't like kind of leave with your jaw drop because of what they're able to pull off.
Yeah.
and I just need to give a shout out to that. Specifically in our Discord, we had J Sharker 111. They suggested that one. That was the first one to point it out.
We have a question here from Zachary Blake. Do you guys have a favorite long take or single take fight scene? And shout out to Catherine Houlihan, who throws out 2 right off the bat. The Protector fight scene, which is in a restaurant, which is fantastic, and also Old Boy. Again, not technically an action movie, but that scene it's amazing. Also, the movie's amazing. It is a Park Chan-wook movie, so it's a little gruesome, not just in violence. It's just those can be challenging movies to watch, so forewarning, but it's an excellent movie.
The long takes, I think Kingsman is up there for me. They attempted to do it again in the sequel, and it wasn't the same. Because we didn't. It was all over the place with what they were trying to do. A lot of studio notes, I feel like.
Speaking of long takes, there's one in Fallout, which is a Halo jump, which I don't know if they really shot that or
what they did.
It's an incredible sequence, though.
Also, you know what? The Mission Impossible movies do get a lot of one takes, and they're running, and it's usually running, and you can see that it displays that Ethan Hunt might be a little supernatural. Tom Hanks might be a little supernatural.
Tom Hanks?
Yep, that's what his name is.
I would love to see a whole version. I want to go to an alternate reality where the Mission Impossible movies star Tom Hanks.
That's the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah,
it's sadder because he's in shape, but he's not Tom Cruise.
He's not Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is insane. You remember in Rogue Nation when he's being tortured and has his shirt off, and then he's on a pole and he climbs up backward. It's insane. It's insane.
Doesn't make any sense.
That means 50. It's insane.
He is older than you think.
Yeah.
He's closer to 60 than you think.
Good for him.
Yes, good for, but it also hurts because I could not get even close to any of that. But the first, because I haven't seen the first 2 Mission Impossible, I can't.
Which I do recommend. Both are good.
But in the third one, you actually get this when they're running. It's they're in a Asian country near the climax of the film.
Yeah.
And you see Tom Cruise's character running through the streets, and it's this long take where he's telling people to get out of the way, but it doesn't cut, and there's nothing really specific happening besides him just running through the streets. Yeah. And you got it again in Fallout. I think there's also some scenes in Rogue Nation and in Ghost Protocol. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Silly names. You get some scenes like that, but I remember in 3 and now 6. This series has been going for 22 years, by the way. That's insane as well that it can be that old. But those scenes you can really connect with because you can see that he's giving his all.
Yeah.
And
I think it's another testament to the performers that really, another one that does this a lot, and which is weird. It's weird to think about that probably one of our greatest action icons in history is Keanu Reeves. Because if you think about it, not only has he been in Point Break, which is a classic action film, Speed, The Matrix, and John Wick. He's in a lot of our greatest American action franchises. He's the center, the focal point. And just surprising because you'd think a bigger, beefier guys, but he's one of those performers that really throws himself into the work and could dismantle me. If we got in a fight, he could legitimately. A lot of actors fake it, but he could legitimately dismantle me. You know what I mean?
No, 100%. Totally on the same page.
And you think about a lot of other, a whole lot of charisma and a whole lot of gumption to do the action stuff like the Meg. Why am I blanking right now? Jason Statham.
The Transporters movie, specifically in the first Transporter movie, because that's the one that everyone's going to remember. When he's the oil fight scene when he's on he made some makeshift skates and he's spilled oil all over a parking lot, whatever he was doing. It's a brutal physical scene. That movie, it feels tangible, and I feel like that's the best way I could describe it. Because as a kid, I was like, why does it feel like I'm watching a hidden camera the whole time? It's not shot that way, but the world feels real, you could touch it. And even though he's doing superhuman things sometimes, but it's crazy how they're able to capture that.
Speaking of long takes, we saw a movie at Fantastic Fest, Brawl in Cell Block 99. Where S. Craig Zoller, the director of that, talked about I think the way he phrased it was he perceived cuts as they would chip away at the suspension of disbelief. So the longer you could stay on a scene, the more trust you built with the audience. You know,
that's a cool way of looking at it. Not an action movie, but Unbreakable. It's surprising how many single takes are in that movie. There's very few times that they cut to a different angle. It's usually scenes that start very far back, slowly zoom in, and then they pull back out again, which is cool. But not an action movie, but I did want to read. There was many people who brought up the Civil War airport fight scene, which we brought up as well. Yes. But Landstander mentions the big fight / escape at the farm in Logan where Laura first shows up.
Yeah.
Because, well, one, the brutality of it is pretty shocking, but immediately there are some emotional stakes with Professor X and with Logan that mean something to you. It means something to the audience, which is crazy that we've, not that those characters we shouldn't connect with them. It's just crazy how connected we have become with them. Specifically with that movie when they really hammer home the father-son dynamic.
Yeah.
And the son is always trying to live up to the dad's expectation of them.
Yeah.
He never gets there.
Weird talks that we're not going to see Dark Phoenix or New Mutants.
Oof.
Yeah, they might just get shit canned.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, they've already shot all of both of them, going back to film more of it.
New Mutants has been pushed back to August of next year.
And that was supposed to come out
February of this year. Yeah, so that's I don't know. Those are just rumors, but hey, it's this stuff we talk about in the social. So I figured I'd throw it out there.
Yeah, that's money down the goddamn toilet, isn't it?
But it's not Disney's money.
Yeah, it is not.
No.
But action scenes, actually, thank you for that segue, because the Quicksilver scene is not a fight, but I think it's fair to call it an action scene because it is a single take.
So.
And it's the creativity that you get in it because, again, it feels real. It's no way anything grounded in that, but you get you can see the creativity of the character, and with that the writers and the directors and the cinematographers of how they choose to capture that. I think that's worth bringing up. But also coming back to Logan for a second, that is an extremely grounded movie for what's happening in it. Like when they try to break through the fence with the limo, they don't make it through, so he has to back up, and he's got it trapped in his wheels and everything. And there are robotic cyborgs that they have to go up against as well, but it still feels grounded, especially the final scene during through the forest, as when you see like Logan go berserker mode and just annihilate those troops. It's such a good scene. Actually, Kate Houlihan wrote a very... Catherine is very excited about this episode. That made me excited as well. Yes, favorite action scenes, and this is what she wrote. It's a lengthy one, so buckle up. Ooh boy, am I excited. I tried to narrow this down and shout out some earlier movies that will appeal to the OSA group. Here's the top 5 action movies. Here we go. Die Hard, totally on board with that. 2, Enter the Dragon with David Leitch apparently wants to remake.
Don't.
Can I vote no on that?
Don't remake a Bruce Lee movie without Bruce Lee. Come on, man.
Face Off.
Yes.
Aliens.
I want to take my face off.
And 5, Rambo: First Blood. And I know you're gonna be mad at me. 3 of those movies I have not seen.
First Blood is very interesting. It's very interesting because I know as Rambo as the cartoon character, and First Blood is not that.
Rambo the cartoon character?
Yeah, Rambo. By the time I was around, Rambo was like a cartoon, like over the top.
You don't mean a cartoon?
They did make a cartoon.
Of course they did.
Yeah, they did make a cartoon.
I mean, smart move,
but First Blood is not that. First Blood's like a real movie.
What is the cartoon about?
It's basically G.I. Joe, but with Rambo.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is like a base of operation.
Yeah, seriously. It's him and his little team of buddies that they go out and stop this. They've invented a villain for it. It's a little... The 180 on that franchise is kind of similar to... The closest thing I can think of in modern times is Sicario. Where Sicario is like a serious, like...
one-off story.
Yeah, and then Sicario 2 is like action movie.
Yeah.
It's not quite as dramatic as that turnaround, but...
Because I've not seen the first Sicario, it is worth mentioning some of Denis Villeneuve's action scenes, like in Blade Runner 2049. Specifically, I think the action that does really well is... they build out the world in a really interesting way that we are really invested in just exploring with our eyes, like what we're looking at. And I think it comes back to the Harrison Ford-Ryan Gosling fight when they are in the... How would you describe it? It's that
casino,
bar.
Right? Yeah,
it's a casino.
It's in Vegas, I believe.
With the holograms that are glitching out, and it's this really cool. You don't know where you sit in that scene, and you're kind of waiting for anything to happen. But also, I wanted to mention Catherine wrote down her 5 favorite action scenes as well. 1, Way of the Dragon, the elevator pitch the scene.
It's the Bruce Lee versus Chuck Norris fight. That's great.
That's
iconic.
Amazing.
Yeah, they're in a Roman Coliseum. It's great.
Then you have the Protector. Young guy is tasked with protecting these elephants for a village. Elephants get kidnapped when the guy finds only the baby is alive. So he straps the dead elephant's bones to his body and proceeds to fight the bad guys with giant bones strapped to his arms and legs. Well, that sounds pretty cool.
That's Tony Jaa. Tony Jaa does some good stuff.
That's 3, the bullet scene in The Matrix. You know, was moving on. 4, the epic car scene in Bullet.
Yeah, that's the first iconic car chase scene. That's up there with French Connection, also as an iconic car chase scene.
Is that in San Francisco when they shoot that? Okay, I have seen that.
Bullet, Steve McQueen. Bullet
yes,
was,
I've only seen the car chase.
That article I read, the history of violence, where it goes, the first movie they start with is Bullet.
Yeah, that car is
it's like the beginning of action movies.
And then again, like she mentioned, Face Off. It says we both know our gun scene in Face Off. Cardboard boxes exploding everywhere. High emotions. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, John Woo. Oh man, if you've never seen Hard Boiled, which is a John Woo movie prior to his American stuff, it's amazing. Chow Yun-fat is in that. Good lord, it's all, the hospital shootout is insane.
And you know, speaking of, you mentioned more action movies from the East, and I started thinking of one of my favorite action stars ever growing up, and I can't believe I didn't say it like right off the bat, is Jackie Chan, because the movie
is great.
The other movie we watched growing up was Rush Hour, and I know that's a comedy, but it's impressive the amount of action that is hidden throughout that movie, that Chris Tucker's like screaming in the background, and then you have Jackie Chan actually taking out people and getting through barriers and getting around things in the most creative ways possible.
And what's crazy is a lot of us, I'm one of these people, we're mostly exposed to late period Jackie Chan, Rush Hour, post like his American stuff. If you look at his early Hong Kong stuff, that man was insane.
Yes.
He was in fucking sane. Like he did stuff that was stupid. That was just straight dumb. I really want to go back and watch a lot of his older Chinese language films.
I'm so down for that. That would be a fun like movie, like a little marathon we could do with.
He's such a great physical performer.
The
yeah, because not only is he a great fighter, but his comic physicality is amazing.
Yes, and that's a big part of it. It's there's like a dance to it, and like seeing how he. One of my favorite scenes is specifically it's in Rush Hour, where he was handcuffed in a car to the steering wheel, so he couldn't go anywhere because he needs to take him. Chris Tucker needs to take him back to the airport to go back to China.
Yeah.
And when Chris Tucker comes back from going to a 7-Eleven, the steering wheel's gone. So he has a steering wheel hidden on his body, and he uses it to take out guards. And like there's like this back and forth he does with one of the guards, like trying to get the gun caught in the steering wheel to kind of get it away from him, and he's turning it back and forth. And it's like it's so. Also, one of the great scenes is he breaks into the Chinese embassy by like doing a wall jump, and he lands in front of a camera, and he bends it out of the way really quick and hops over the fence. It's like there's this cool rhythm to his action, at least in the later years.
Yeah, I think there's stuff that us American audiences that didn't check out that stuff are really missing out from his younger stuff, because it's really also, if you like action movies, highly recommend getting outside of the United States, because The Raid is one of those movies.
We didn't talk about The Raid.
Yeah, The Raid is nuts. The Raid is nuts. And it's interesting because it's one of those it's literally, it doesn't have a story. It really doesn't. Is it like revenge? No, it's basically a video game premise. It's like you're in a building and you need to get out. But and
that's fine.
But the actors are likable enough, and the action is so well choreographed that none of that matters. Like that doesn't matter. And if you're doing, again, it's kind of, we talked about it on our Mission Impossible review. If you're putting that much care and attention to those aspects. If you know the type of movie you're making, and you're making that movie to the hilt, if it's not Shakespeare, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Because you're doing stuff that people haven't seen before.
Yeah, and it becomes more of a spectacle, and that's okay to go to a movie to see something like that. I think we said this in the Mission Impossible review. Fallout is the perfect summer movie. It's a perfect blockbuster.
Yeah, man. And the stuff that we grew up with, like I think of like Men in Black and stuff like that. They don't make. This is the closest we get to that at this point. Really, it feels like
it's modernized so that it can get like today's audience, which is really cool. And it's cool. Like a lot of people have said that superhero genre is a way of like sneaking like comedy and like a comedy movie into the market, or an action movie. It's cool that this is purely just an action movie.
Bummer you have to sneak those into the market. You just can't make those movies.
It's what people want to watch. Also in the chat, we had Drunken Master, Jackie Chan's Drunken Master, shout out, which I've heard is amazing as well. What also is amazing is our friends on the podcast. So we're gonna say hi to one more, and then we'll come right back. Oh, I do love our friends of the podcast. But I think as we've been talking through this, I'm kind of trying to take mental notes of what the stuff that matters to us when it comes to action movies and action scenes. Like specifically, I think when it comes to the emotional weight of a movie, I think that can really add a lot to it. And when you have a performer that can sell it, that matters as well. Like setting that up early on, or at least being inventive enough that we're invested to see what these storytellers. I think that's a better way of saying it, because it doesn't take just one person to make an action scene work. It takes a lot of people.
You got stunt coordinators.
Besides Jackie Chan, if you just roll a camera, he'll do something
crazy stuff. There's a clip of him. It's actually an old silent film thing where you're hanging onto a clock, and he literally falls head first down like 4 stories. It's not Jackie Chan, and it's not. He just fall. Anyway, it's insane. It's a miracle that man's still around and walking.
You know what? Actually, speaking of action, we've talked a lot about fighting, but I think a lot of physical comedy and just the physical demands an actor puts themselves through is worth mentioning too. Like with Buster Keaton, because you mentioned the clock tower, and that there's a very iconic scene where he's hanging from a clock tower. I've seen how they did it, like how they faked it. Still really scary.
Yeah, super dangerous. Especially if you go back to the old black and white film days. It's people legitimately putting their lives on the line to entertain people.
It's so stupid what they will put themselves through. One of my favorite, it was a GIF online of from one of his movies where he's driving like a Model T. He's driving down the road and he hits a ditch, but I think they took out most of the bolts of the car and basically just made it a sled, and they pushed it down the road, and when it hit the ditch, the whole car explodes apart like a cartoon, but he kind of pushes himself out of it so that like he lands standing up and not crushed by all the parts of the car, and you're just like, why? How did you practice this? How did you do this? Like I don't understand. But you didn't mention animated fight scenes, and I've had to think about it for a minute. But I think Kendra, she had the best example of the Voltron has had some of the best action, even when it's not hand-to-hand combat. End of season 2, when they went up against Zarkon, which I know we're saying a lot of sci-fi names. If you're not watching Voltron, you're making a mistake. It's so emotionally heavy because you're seeing people unlock things that about their past and who they are and what they mean to each other. And when that all builds to a head into one fight, and seeing them push themselves to the limit, I don't know how this show's able to capture it so well, but those scenes mean so much to the audience in a non-nerdy way, in just a pure storytelling way. It's beautiful how they're able to capture that. And in Korra, when they get to the final fights in season 3, when it's against your favorite Zahir and your favorite villain,
so cool.
What he's going through. What he's going through and what he's putting Korra through as well, and what they both mean to each other, and what the stakes that the world's at with what if they succeed. It's heartbreaking, and that's one of my favorite cliffhangers for a season. It's again heartbreaking, but it's beautiful and it's inventive. And Korra gets the final fight scene in Avatar: The Last Airbender, because it's the 10-year anniversary this year. Which definitely hurts my heart hearing about that. But rewatching that final fight scene, it's brutal.
Yeah, for me, the Zuko Azula fight.
It's beautiful. It's like poetry.
Yeah.
Which is crazy that Nickelodeon allowed, like, they did a show like this. What good investment. Bummer that you couldn't just stick to your guns later on. I know they got more adult, but that's what you asked for. So whose fault's that? Just saying.
Those people have gone on to do really cool things. So that animation studio is doing Voltron. The head writer in that has got a new show on Netflix, The Dragon Prince.
They do. It is a different animation style. So
I'm not sure I'm on board. I probably am. Once I watch it, I'll be like, oh no, I'm on board. But the trailer's like, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either. I do want to check in with the chat one more time. But is there any final thoughts you want to get out there?
So do you have any, like, what are your top favorite action movies?
I think.
While you're looking, I'm thinking the first 3 Indiana Jones films, I feel like are not just great action films, but like basically the perfect version of a summer blockbuster. I don't think we've really topped that. We mentioned Speed. Die Hard, of course, is probably the best. The original Matrix. Man, there's just a lot. There's just a lot of really great movies. I know this doesn't technically count as an action movie. Somebody mentioned one of their favorite scenes was the opening scene in Once Upon a Time in the West, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Luis Hernandez does a shout out for Predator 2. Shout out, thank you. Danny Glover's great in that. It's a really good movie. It's super fun.
I don't know if I'd argue it's a really good movie, but the first Predator is great.
It's super entertaining. The first movie is inventive and whatnot.
Total Recall, RoboCop. Verhoeven. Nobody like Verhoeven needs a lot of credit for taking movies that are what you want them to be, and also completely deconstructing that thing that you're there to watch, like just completely tearing apart the idea of violent entertainment while giving you the best version of a violent entertainment movie. Like that type of satire is really difficult to pull off. Showgirls.
Do want to give a shout out to Kate Alex in the Discord and the story suggestions. Thank you so much. I feel like this is an obvious one. It's not, because no one's mentioned this yet. But I always think the 12 bullets scene in the first Deadpool movie, counting out the bullets, is a great combo of action and comedy, and did a great job of setting the stage for the rest of the movie. I think it is too. I think it's there is a lot of inventiveness there when he's like, "This is how many bullets I have," so the audience gets to feel engaged with the scene. So we're keeping track of all the bullets that you waste and the ones you successfully use. Also, shooting through 3 guys' heads, or not 3, the one gets embedded in that guy's skull, and you're like, is he a mutant? It's like, no, the bullet just slowed down through 2 whole skulls, which is whatever your opinion is, that's a great joke. That's a great bit. I think my list might copy yours a little bit because we've mentioned them as we've been talking. Die Hard, the first one's up there. I have watched the other ones, but they've not they're not coming to mind of anything that worth mentioning in this. Predator was a movie I watched a lot as a kid. Rush Hour, because that was my first exposure to Jackie Chan, and that's what we would watch again a lot when I was a kid. Creed, that gets a lot. Ryan Coogler, the way he captures action is beautiful, and I'll throw in the Daredevil hallway fight scene because that's one that's coming to mind the quickest because of. The show didn't need to go that hard. It didn't need to do that to us. And the way we were able to
it's never quite topped that sense.
And it hasn't. But I will say, when taking down the bikers in season 2, while it doesn't top it emotionally, it is still really impressive.
It's super cool.
And also you just get like
Punisher prison fight.
Oh, so good. That one hurts. That one you feel sick a little bit. And Brawl and Soblock. I know that wasn't a top 5 list, but you can suck it. But I appreciate everyone on the Patreon who got involved. Thank you for sending us your questions. You can do that as well with the $1 tier. Just $1
super
a month.
easy. You go in there, you get to be a part of the show with us.
This show, as well as our Twitch community on Discord and our bonus episodes. Don't worry, there'll be more coming at you. Super TV Showdown will come back when our shows come back as well. So you're going to get hold on to that just for a little bit.
Yeah, and also it's you can't overstate how important our Patreon supporters, our patrons are to this show. That's what makes any of this possible, legitimately.
And speaking of Patreon, we actually have a bunch of new tiers, how you guys can get involved and actually get verbal shout-outs. You can hop on the show. And through the month of August, didn't say this last time on the main episode, there's discounts on those prices, baby. So if you want to hop on the show, go check it out. And we figured out how to make it perfect. So it's very exciting. We hopefully you guys are intrigued by that. Also, you'll notice there's a bridge tier at $50. What's that mean?
What's that going? You're going to find out in the next week.
In the next week or two. Let's say a week or two, just in case.
Wow, we're packing in a lot.
So you're getting your money's worth if you're part of the Patreon. So go ahead and check it out. Thank you guys so much. And also, let's give shout-outs to everyone who's watching live. We have Danny M, Kate Houlihan, Ryan Kevin, The Stupid Stub. We have Julie Layden, Danny Boy. I know we have more people who join throughout the week. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who joined us this Thursday for the Only Stupid Answers show, because it went off perfectly, and the way we were able to interact with you guys live and the way you guys interacted with the Play Noggin audience, y'all were good boys and girls. We're proud of you. We're proud to take you out and show you off. And we hope you tune back in next week, 4 p.m. PST, Thursday at twitch.tv/PlayNoggin. There it is.
Boom. This lovely boy next to me is Sam Basher.
That's me. And over here, this is a strapping young man named DJ Woldridge. You can find him at DJ Talks Trash. You can find me at Sam Basher. But you can find everything Only Stupid Answers at onlystupidanswers.com. We talking merch. We're talking bonus episodes. You can listen to our main episode there, as well as on iTunes. You got Spotify. You got Google Play Music. You got at least 6 other options there after that. Don't know if anyone uses them, but they are there.
There's so many options. So please check all of that out. OnlyStupidAnswers.com. Tune in Thursdays. Now that the show is basically done, Sam, can I spoilers?
Let's do Mission Impossible spoilers. Yeah.
These are spoilers on Mission Impossible. So if you watched the movie, stick around. If you haven't, bail.
We love you. Bye.
But love you. Bye. I'm a little bummed that Henry Cavill was a bad guy.
I'm bummed that he died. I'm bummed.
They super died.
Yeah.
I said in our review that this was the first time, maybe it was the mustache or whatever, that I realized how attractive he is.
Mm-hmm. He's
and
Superman.
then at the end of the movie, they really punted. They burn half his face, and then he gets a hook straight to the brain. Yeah. That helicopter. There's something with that helicopter that's in the trailer that's not in the movie. The scene where he's like driving the helicopter towards a truck, and I don't know where that was supposed to be.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I vaguely know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's the end. It's like the end of the trailer, and I'd completely forgotten about it.
Yeah, that's nowhere in the movie.
No.
And that's fine.
Yeah,
You
there's
get
plenty. There's
But
plenty.
also, fun fact I learned about, the schedule for shooting the bathroom fight was 4 days. Guess how long it actually was?
Not 4 days. That's insane to me. There was 4 days.
Throw out a number.
I would say, let's say 10, like 2 work weeks. How long?
4 weeks. Took 4 weeks to film that.
Jeez.
And it was worth it. Because
Yes,
that
it's
scene...
so good.
Henry Cavill reloading his arms. I wish there was a sound effect in there, like you could actually like hear it happen. But
And then like gunshots when he throws his punches.
you hear when he connects.
Yeah.
That's a gunshot. That's a shotgun. That's a shotgun. But that scene's incredible. I am bummed, but I'm happy with what I got. Though.
Yeah. It was I think it got exactly what I was looking forward to in this movie.
And the Halo jump. That I do like. The joke is like, where's your oxygen?
Yeah.
It was a little silly. And also, guys, we said this in the review. Plot means diddly shit in this movie, but who cares? You know, it doesn't matter at all.
It's a bunch of attractive people doing crazy things.
And all of them are more impressive the more the movie goes on.
Yeah.
So go see it. We recommend it. And hey, give us a 5-star review on iTunes.
Please
And thank you. That's actually how we move up in the charts in the entertainment one.
Yeah.
We're competing against a lot of people. So,
So
if you want to write a lot of reviews, we appreciate it. Please. That's a please. And we'll see you next week, 4 p.m. for the Only Stupid Answers show at twitch.tv/playnoggin. We love you guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let's say thank you to Kate, Kevin, Danny, Steven. This was such a fun episode. This is really cool to kind of like go down memory lane and talk about what we love about action movies. There's so many more people here. Thank you so much. We want to get more people watching live, so tell your friends to check out the Patreon, or at least just check out the podcast. Text them an episode. Make a group chat with 10 people in it and text out an episode, your favorite one, maybe the Transformers one. We know that you love that one. We've heard many good things about that one. We love you guys, and we'll see you very soon, and new announcements still to come.
Yeah, more things coming. Stream tomorrow movie stream tomorrow, and then next Thursday. Yeah,
join the Discord. Noon tomorrow, The Death of Superman. That's a $10 plus tier. You're all covered. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.